In Matthew 15:14, Jesus called the Pharisees blind guides. Now, we often think about how that was the Pharisees, they missed it and didn't get it right. But maybe we should think about the idea that the Pharisees were blind. Somehow they missed something, and that might mean that possibly I could be missing something. Are there blind spots in my life, things that I'm missing? And in a world where there are so many voices saying so many things, how do I know that I'm getting it right? That's what we're going to discuss in this episode of Lifting the Darkness. So, again, the Pharisees were blind guides. Now, the scriptures also speak of this idea of deception. In James 1:16 and Galatians 6:7, both those verses say, "Do not be deceived." James 1:22 speaks of deceiving yourselves. That there is this possibility that I am deceived, and deception in that term on its own means that I don't realize that I have it wrong. I don't know that I'm missing it, that my belief, that my behavior is wrong, and I don't know that. So that possibility is out there that we are deceived. And what do we do about that? Some of it is just being aware of the possibility of me being deceived. And John's gospel in John chapter 1, John introduces a concept to us, an analogy that the Bible consistently brings forth, especially the New Testament, about this deception. And the analogy is light and darkness. In John 1, verse 4 and 5, John says, "In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Then he says in verses 9 and 10, "The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him." So this light is where I understand I'm getting it right, and darkness is where I don't understand, but I don't realize that I do not understand. Paul also brings this concept in 1 Corinthians 4, verses 3 through 5, when he says, "But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by any human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself, for I am not aware of anything against myself, but I am not thereby acquitted." So Paul is saying here that he looks into himself to do this examination that all of us should do. But in the end, he recognizes that though I do this examination, that doesn't let me off the hook, because I can do the examination and still be getting it wrong. And he continues and says, "It is the Lord who judges me." So there is this possibility that I'm thinking it through, I'm examining things, and yet I still might not have it right. And then he continues, "Therefore, do not pronounce judgment before the time." When is that time? Before the Lord comes. So when Jesus Christ returns, or when I die and I'm in heaven, is the time that I will realize all things correctly. But until then, as long as we are living in this life, there is the possibility that we're looking through some kind of tent of darkness and we are missing something. And he continues and says, "When the Lord comes, who will bring to light the things now hidden in darkness and will disclose the purposes of the heart." Now that's very key, the purposes of the heart. Our motives that often get cloudy with earthly things and confusion and those kind of things. And he says, then each one will receive his commendation from God. So this darkness is around me, and I possibly am not seeing things correctly. Then he says in 1 Corinthians 13:12, "For now," that is, while we're alive, "we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known." When I see him face to face, when I meet Jesus face to face, then I will know. I will know what's truly true. I will know what's truly right and wrong. Then I will see clearly. But now I don't see clearly. I see through a dim mirror. And this whole possibility of deception, of me having it wrong and not realizing it, it is partially beginning to be solved by me recognizing that until I'm there, until I'm in heaven, I'm seeing through a dim mirror. I'm in some form of darkness. There are some things that I don't know and I don't get. Now, does that mean that we're entirely in darkness and we're not at all in light? Well, first of all, that John chapter 1 passage says that Jesus came and brought light. But also in Colossians 1:13, Paul says he has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son. So in us coming to know Jesus, there is some form of a transition out of this deception, out of this darkness, out of this not knowing, not understanding, and into a space of light, understanding, not being deceived kind of thing, knowing things. And so this deliverance has begun, but we have to remember what Paul said in Corinthians, that we are still limited, but this darkness is being lifted. And that is the concept of this journey that I want to invite you to go on, is how do we begin to lift this darkness off of us? How do we begin to be less deceived, less in the dark, and understand better so that we can hear what God is saying, know what the truth is, know what is right, know what is wrong, and be more pleasing to Jesus Christ, and possibly have a better way of living as well? Well, the first part of this journey is in this episode. 1 Corinthians 3:18, Paul says, "Let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age, let him become a fool." Why? That he may become wise. The beginning of the journey of lifting the darkness off of you and beginning to see light and see the truth and see what is right and wrong is by not thinking that you got it all together, by recognizing that you are blind in some way, that you are limited, that there are things you don't know. And the moment I recognize that and admit I am a fool, I become wise. I cease to let myself be deceived. This is the direction that we have, and we're going to journey on the specifics that the Bible gives us on how to lift this darkness. And I hope that you will join me on this journey. If so, my goal is to, at the first of each month, upload a new video on something specific that the Bible tells us to do that can result in us lifting this darkness. If you would please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button if you'd like to be notified when those videos are uploaded. Also, what do you think about what I said in this video? What do you think about these verses? What do you think about the idea of lifting the darkness and possibly being deceived? Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any questions? If so, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to answer your questions as best I can. So please just leave those in the comments. Or if you'd like to privately email me comments or questions, my email address will be in the description below. If you think anybody else would find this content valuable, please share it. If you enjoy the content of this video and would like more people to be aware of it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. The more things that you do on this video, the more visible it becomes to others. If you'd like to receive email notifications about the things happening with this ministry of lifting the darkness, please email me and let me know, and I'd be glad to include you in a email notifications. Again, the email address is in the description. Let's be about lifting the darkness. I hope you will join me. God bless you.